The stars looked different when 10,000 alien warships blocked out their light. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching the massive fleet approach on the main screen. Each enemy ship was 3 times larger than his vessel, and there were so many of them that they looked like a moving wall of metal and death. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission from Earth Command," said Communications Officer Maria Santos. Her voice stayed steady, but Jake could see her hand shaking slightly as she worked at her station. Jake nodded. "Put it through to my ready room. Amy, you have the bridge." Lieutenant Amy Carter moved to the captain's chair as Jake walked into his small office. The message from Earth appeared on his personal screen. Admiral Peterson's tired face filled the display. "Jake, I won't lie to you. The nearest fleet is 3 weeks away. The Mars defense grid is still under construction. You're all we have." Peterson paused, rubbing his forehead. "I know what I'm asking. 1 ship against 10,000. But if they break through, they'll reach Earth in 2 days." The message ended. Jake stared at the blank screen for a moment, then returned to the bridge. 200 crew members aboard the Defiance. 10,000 alien ships. The math was simple and terrible. "Report," Jake said as he took a seat. "Long-range sensors show the alien fleet maintaining formation," said Navigator Kate Phillips. "They're moving slowly, like they're not worried about anything stopping them." Weapons Officer Tony Rodriguez looked up from his console. "Sir, I've been studying their ship designs from the sensor data. Their weapons are powerful, but they seem built for fighting other ships their size. Heavy and slow. What are you thinking, Tony?" "Well, sir, our ship is smaller and faster. If we can avoid getting hit, we might be able to cause some damage before—" He didn't finish the sentence. Everyone knew how this would end. Chief Engineer Lisa Brooks spoke up from her station. "Captain, I've been working on some modifications to our engines. Nothing fancy, just pushing them beyond normal limits. We'll burn out faster, but we'll be much more agile." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had families back on Earth. They had dreams and plans for the future. Now, they were being asked to die to buy humanity a little more time. "Sir," said Dr. Ryan Clark from the science station, "I'm picking up communications from the alien fleet. They're using a simple frequency. I think I can translate some of it." "What are they saying?" "Something about weak species and easy conquests." "They seem very confident." Jake almost smiled. Confidence could be a weakness. "Maria, open a channel to Earth Command. Full encryption." "Channel open, sir." "Admiral Peterson, this is Commander Morrison. The Defiance will hold the line. We'll buy you as much time as we can." Jake paused. "Tell my wife I love her." He cut the channel before Peterson could respond. There was nothing more to say. "All hands, this is the captain," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "In a few hours, we're going to face the largest enemy fleet in human history. They outnumber us 10,000 to 1. They think we're weak. They think we'll run or surrender." His voice grew stronger. "They're about to learn what it means to fight humans." On the bridge, the crew worked with quiet determination. Lisa pushed the engines to their absolute limits. Tony checked and rechecked every weapon system. Kate plotted courses through the nearby asteroid field. Maria monitored enemy communications. Dr. Clark analyzed the alien ship designs, looking for weaknesses. Security Chief Dan Parker arrived on the bridge with his report. "All departments ready, sir. Damage control team standing by. Marines ready for boarding actions, if needed." "Boarding actions?" Amy asked. "Dan, those ships are huge." "Yes, ma'am. But sometimes you have to get creative." Dr. Helen Foster's voice came over the intercom from sickbay. "Medical department ready. Captain, we're prepared for casualties." Jake hoped they wouldn't need her services for long. Either they would die quickly, or by some miracle, they would survive. There probably wouldn't be much in between. "Sir, the alien fleet is changing formation," Kate reported. "They're spreading out into attack position." On the screen, the massive fleet rearranged itself into a wide crescent shape. The Defiance sat alone in space, looking like a tiny bug about to be swatted by a giant hand. They're trying to surround us, Amy observed. Standard tactic for overwhelming a smaller force. Let them, Jake said. Lisa, how are those engine modifications coming? Ready when you are, sir. But I have to warn you, we're going to be pulling forces that could tear the ship apart. Better than sitting here, waiting to die. Tony, load all weapons. Full spread of torpedoes. Sir, at this range, we can't possibly hit all of them, Tony said. We don't need to hit all of them. We just need to make them notice us. The alien fleet continued its slow approach. Jake could see individual ships now, their dark hulls covered in weapon ports and armor plating. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small planet. Sir, we're being hailed by the enemy fleet, Maria reported. Put it through. The main screen filled with the image of an alien face. The creature had blue-gray skin, large black eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, the translation system turned its words into cold, mechanical English. Human vessel, I am Fleet Admiral Zenthara of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender immediately. Your species will serve the Empire or be destroyed. You have one of your time units to decide. Jake stood up slowly. I am Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earth Navy. I have a counteroffer for you. The alien's large eyes seemed to focus on him with interest. Turn your ships around and leave our space. You have 30 seconds to comply. For a moment, there was silence. Then the alien made a sound that might have been laughter. One small ship threatens 10,000? Your species is either very brave or very stupid. Why don't you come find out which one? Jake said. The transmission ended. The alien fleet began moving faster, closing in like a net. All stations, battle alert, Jake commanded. This is it, people. Show them what humans can do. Fleet Admiral Zenthara studied the small human ship on his command screen. In his 300 years of military service, he had conquered 17 different species across 42 star systems. Each time, the pattern was the same. Show overwhelming force, demand surrender, accept submission, or destroy everything that moved. The humans were breaking the pattern. War leader, the human vessel has not responded to our ultimatum, reported his communications officer, a thin Zephyrian with nervous eyes. Should we begin the attack? Zenthara raised one clawed hand for silence. Something felt wrong about this situation. His species had studied human transmission for months before launching this invasion. The humans appeared to be a young race with primitive technology. Their ships were small, their weapons basic. They should be terrified. Instead, their commander had made jokes. Show me the tactical display again, Zenthara ordered. The holographic projection appeared above the command table. 10,000 Zephyrian warships surrounded a single human vessel that was barely visible as a small dot in the center. The human ship was not running. It was not calling for help. It simply sat there waiting. Perhaps their engines are damaged, suggested Tactical Officer Moran, or their crew is paralyzed by fear. No, Zenthara said slowly. Look at their energy signature. Full power to all systems. They are prepared to fight. One ship against 10,000? Moran's voice carried disbelief. They cannot be serious. Zenthara had seen this once before, early in his career. A small defending force that refused to surrender despite impossible odds. That battle had lasted 3 days and cost him nearly 1,000 ships before victory. The memory still gave him unpleasant dreams. War leader, we are receiving another transmission from a human vessel, the communications officer announced. Put it through. The human commander appeared on screen again. His face looked calm, almost relaxed. Behind him, Zenthara could see other humans working at their stations with no signs of panic or fear. Admiral Zenthara, the human said, I wanted to give you one more chance to reconsider. Your intelligence about our species seems to be incomplete. Explain. You've been watching our entertainment broadcasts, haven't you? Our movies, our stories about space battles. The human smiled. Those are not training documents. Those are just for fun. You might want to study our history instead, especially the parts about what happens when someone threatens our home. Zenthara felt a chill run through his body. He had indeed based much of his strategy on human entertainment transmissions. They showed humans as brave but foolish, winning through luck rather than skill. "Your history means nothing against the might of the Zephyrian Empire," Zenthra replied, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. "Admiral, let me tell you something about humans. We have a saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. You're about to learn what that means." The transmission ended again. Zenthra stared at the blank screen, disturbed by something in the human's eyes. Not fear, not desperation. Something else. Something dangerous. "War leader, should we proceed with the standard attack formation?" asked Fleet Captain Zorpath from his position at the tactical console. "No. Signal all ships to maintain maximum range. Use long-distance weapons only. I want to see what they do before we commit to a full assault." "Sir, that seems overly cautious for a single enemy vessel," Moran protested. "That single enemy vessel just threatened us while outnumbered 10,000 to 1, Zenthra snapped. "Either they're completely insane or they know something we don't. I prefer to assume they're not insane." The fleet began its attack pattern, spreading out in a wide formation to surround the human ship. Energy weapons charged across 10,000 vessels, creating a light show that will be visible from several star systems away. "War leader, we are detecting unusual energy readings from the human ship," reported the sensor officer. "Their engines are producing power levels far beyond their design specifications. Are they preparing to self-destruct?" "Unknown, sir. The energy pattern is not consistent with any known weapon or explosive device." Zenthra watched the tactical display as his fleet moved into position. Everything looked normal. His ships were following standard attack formations that had worked against every other species they had encountered. The humans had nowhere to run and no way to fight back effectively. So why did he feel like he was walking into a trap? "Sir, the human ship is moving," announced a navigation officer. On the display, the tiny dot representing the human vessel began to accelerate, not toward the Zephyrian fleet, not away from it. Instead, it was moving toward a nearby asteroid field. "Are they trying to hide among the rocks?" Moran asked. "Perhaps. Order the forward squadrons to pursue. Destroy the asteroids if necessary." But as Zenthra watched, he realized the human ship was not trying to hide. It was using the asteroids as cover while it maneuvered around the edge of the Zephyrian formation. The little ship moved with incredible speed and agility, dodging between rocks that would have crushed larger vessels. "How are they moving so fast?" demanded the sensor officer. "Their engine output is now 3 times normal levels," came the reply. "At this rate, their power system should overload within the hour." "Then they're planning something that will take less than an hour," Zenthra said grimly. The human ship suddenly changed course, racing directly toward the outer edge of the Zephyrian formation. For a moment, Zenthra thought they were making a suicide run. Then the ship opened fire. The weapons were small compared to Zephyrian standards, but they were precisely aimed. Each shot hit a different target. Sensor arrays, weapon mounts, engine exhausts. Not enough damage to destroy ships, but enough to disable key systems. "Return fire," Zenthra ordered. 10,000 weapons turned toward the human ship. Energy beams and missile volleys filled space with deadly light. But the human vessel was no longer where the targeting computers said it should be. It twisted and spun through the attack, moving in patterns that seemed impossible for a ship of its size. "How are they avoiding our weapons?" Moran shouted over the noise of alarms and status reports. "They're not following any known flight pattern," replied the tactical officer. "Their movements appear completely random." But Zenthra was beginning to suspect they were not random at all. The human ship was exactly where it needed to be at exactly the right time. It was as if they could predict where every shot would be fired. The human vessel completed its attack run and disappeared back into the asteroid field. Behind it, 50 Zephyrian ships drifted helpless with damaged systems. "Damage report," Zenthra demanded. "No ships destroyed, but multiple vessels have lost sensors or weapons. The humans targeted our most critical systems with perfect accuracy." "How is that possible?" "Our ships are protected by energy shields." "The shields are still functional, war leader, but somehow their weapons are bypassing the shield frequencies entirely. Zenthara stared at the tactical display. In less than 5 minutes, the humans had damaged 50 of his ships without taking a single hit in return. They had done it with precision and skill that suggested knowledge of Zephyrian technology that should have been impossible. War leader, the communications officer spoke up quietly. "We are receiving a third transmission from the human vessel. Put it through." The human commander appeared on screen again. This time he was smiling. "Admiral, that was just a warm-up. Would you like to surrender now, or shall we continue with the main event?" Commander Jake Morrison cut the transmission and turned to his crew. The bridge of the Defiance hummed with energy as every system pushed beyond normal limits. Through the view screen, he could see the massive alien fleet begin to close in, like a giant metal fist preparing to crush them. "Lisa, how are those engines holding up?" Jake asked. Chief Engineer Lisa Brooks wiped sweat from her forehead as she worked at her station. "We're running at 300% normal output, Captain. The modifications are working, but we're burning through our fuel reserves fast. At this rate, we have maybe 2 hours before we need to shut down. Then we better make those 2 hours count. Amy, what's our tactical situation?" Lieutenant Amy Carter studied her displays with fierce concentration. "The aliens are regrouping after our first attack run. They're trying to form a tighter formation to prevent us from picking off individual ships. But they're also getting in each other's way." Jake nodded. That was exactly what he had hoped for. The Zephyrian fleet was designed to overwhelm smaller forces through sheer numbers. But numbers could become a weakness if you didn't have room to use them properly. "Kate, plot us a course through Grid 7 Alpha. Use the asteroid field for cover, then swing around to their port flank." Navigator Kate Phillips's fingers danced over her controls. "Course plotted, sir, but we'll be cutting it close to some of the larger asteroids. One wrong move and we'll be space dust. Better space dust than sitting here waiting to be vaporized. Tony, I want precision targeting this time. No wasted shots." Weapons Officer Tony Rodriguez cracked his knuckles and grinned. "You got it, Captain. I've been studying their shield patterns. I think I know where to hit them where it hurts." "Dr. Clark, what have you learned about their technology?" Science Officer Dr. Ryan Clark looked up from his console, excitement in his eyes. "Captain, their shields operate on a rotating frequency pattern. Very sophisticated, but also predictable once you know the timing. I can give Tony the exact moment when each ship's shields will be weakest." "Outstanding. Maria, keep monitoring their communications. I want to know what they're thinking." Communications Officer Maria Santos nodded. "They're getting frustrated, sir. Their admiral is demanding to know how we're moving so fast. Some of their captains are starting to question their orders." Jake smiled grimly. Fear and confusion were spreading through the enemy ranks. That was good. Frightened people made mistakes. "All right, people, here we go. Lisa, give me everything those engines can handle." The Defiance leaped forward like a racehorse breaking from the gate. The inertial dampener struggled to keep the crew from being crushed by the acceleration as the ship dove toward the asteroid field. Behind them, energy beams and missile trails lit up space as the alien fleet tried to target their rapidly moving ship. "Incoming fire, port side," Amy called out. Kate yanked the controls hard to starboard, sending the ship spinning between 2 massive asteroids. The alien weapons fire smashed into the rocks, sending chunks of stone and metal flying in all directions. "They're trying to box us in," Kate reported. 3 squadrons moving to cut off our escape route. Then we don't escape that way. Take us deeper into the field." The Defiance plunged into the heart of the asteroid belt, weaving between floating mountains of rock and ice. The alien ships were too large to follow safely, but they tried anyway. Jake watched on the rear display as several Zephyrian vessels collided with asteroids, their shields flaring bright blue before failing completely. "Tony, target the lead ship in Formation Delta. Ryan, give him the timing. Shield rotation in 3, 2, 1 now." Tony fired a full spread of torpedoes at the exact moment the target ship's shield shifted frequency. The weapons punched through the weakened defenses and struck the alien vessel's engine section. The ship spun out of control, crashing into its neighbor and taking both vessels out of the fight. 2 down, 9,998 to go, Amy said with dark humor. Don't get cocky, Jake warned. They're starting to adapt. Look at the tactical display. The alien formation was changing. Instead of trying to surround the human ship, they were creating corridors and kill zones, trying to force the Defiance into areas where they could bring maximum firepower to bear. They're learning, Kate observed. That's not good for us. Actually, it is, Jake replied. Every minute they spend reorganizing is a minute they're not shooting at us. And every change they make creates new opportunities. He was right. As the Zephyrian fleet repositioned itself, gaps appeared in their formation. The Defiance darted through these openings like a minnow swimming through a school of sharks. Each time they passed close to an enemy ship, Tony's precisely aimed weapons found their mark. Security Chief Dan Parker's voice came over the intercom from his position in the armory. Captain, I'm seeing some interesting things on the alien ships we've damaged. Their hull plating is strong, but their internal structure looks relatively weak. If we could get inside one of those ships... Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting, Dan? A boarding action, sir. Hit them from the inside where they don't expect it. Jake considered the idea. It was insane, dangerous, and completely against standard military doctrine, which meant it might actually work. Stand by on that, Dan. Let's see what other surprises we can spring first. The Defiance continued its deadly dance through the alien fleet. Each attack run was different, unpredictable. Sometimes they came in high, using a disabled alien ship as cover. Sometimes they skimmed along the edge of the asteroid field, popping up to take shots at unprotected flanks. Sometimes they seemed to disappear entirely, only to reappear behind enemy lines. Dr. Helen Foster's voice came from sickbay. Captain, I'm treating some minor injuries from the extreme maneuvers, but the crew is holding up well. Morale is actually pretty high. Good to hear, Helen. We're going to need everyone at their best. Sir, Maria interrupted, I'm picking up increased chatter from the alien fleet. They're calling for reinforcements. From where? Unknown, but it sounds like they have reserve forces somewhere in the system. Jake felt a chill. If more alien ships arrived, even their unconventional tactics might not be enough to stop them. How long until these reinforcements arrive? Hard to say. Maybe an hour, maybe less. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They had been fighting for 30 minutes and had already achieved the impossible. But they were tired. Their ship was being pushed to the breaking point, and now they faced the prospect of even more enemies. Lisa, how much longer can you give me on these engines? Maybe another hour, Captain. After that, we'll start losing power systems one by one. An hour? That might be enough time to complete their mission and buy Earth the time it needed. Or it might be exactly long enough to watch their small victory turn into inevitable defeat. All right, people. We got 1 hour to show these aliens why they should never have messed with humanity. Amy, I want you to target their command ships. If we can disrupt their coordination, maybe we can turn this into a rout instead of just a delaying action. Aye, sir. Identifying command vessels now. The Defiance banked sharply and dove toward the center of the alien formation, where the largest ships waited. Jake could see weapons ports opening like the eyes of awakening giants. In moments, they would be in the most dangerous part of the battlefield. Here we go again, Kate muttered, her hand steady on the controls despite the sweat running down her face. That's the spirit, Jake said. Show them how humans dance. The center of the alien fleet looked like a fortress of metal and death. Massive command ships bristled with weapons, their hulls covered in armor thick enough to shrug off anything Defiance could throw at them. Or so the Zephyrians thought. Dr. Ryan Clark had been working feverishly at a science station, analyzing every scrap of data from their previous attacks. His eyes were red from staring at displays, but his mind was sharp with discovery. Captain, I found something interesting, Ryan called out. These alien shields don't just rotate frequency. They also have a resonance pattern. If we can match that pattern exactly, we might be able to overload their entire defensive grid. Jake turned to look at his science officer. Are you saying we can bring down their shields completely? Not all of them, sir. but maybe one ship at a time. The problem is, we need to get very close to scan the exact frequency. Close enough that they could destroy us with a single shot. How close? Within 50 meters of their hull. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of overstressed engines and the distant explosions of space combat. 50 meters was nothing in space combat terms. At that range, they would be inside the alien ship's personal defense perimeter. Tony, if we could drop their shields completely, how much damage would we do? Weapons Officer Tony Rodriguez studied his targeting computers. With no shields? Captain, I could punch holes through their hull like paper. Their armor is tough, but it's not designed to stop direct hits without shield support. Jake made his decision. Ryan, pick the smallest command ship you can find. I want you to scan its shield frequency. Kate, get us in there fast and quiet. Amy, be ready to coordinate with Tony the second those shields drop. Sir, Communications Officer Maria Santos interrupted. I'm still monitoring alien communications. They're really confused now. Some ships are reporting that we've disappeared from their sensors entirely. What do you mean, disappeared? I think our engine modifications are creating some kind of interference with their detection systems. When we move fast enough, they lose track of us. Chief Engineer Lisa Brooks looked up from her station with a tired but triumphant smile. That's not a bug, Captain. That's a feature. The engine output is creating electromagnetic distortion that scrambles their targeting computers. Jake felt hope rising in his chest. How long can you maintain that effect? As long as we keep pushing the engines past the red line, which means about 40 more minutes before everything melts down. Then we make those 40 minutes count. Maria, I have an idea. Can you access their communication network? I've been monitoring it, sir, but actually accessing it would require breaking their encryption codes? Yes, sir, which should be impossible with our current computer systems. Dr. Clark looked up from his station again. Actually, Maria, it might not be impossible. I've been analyzing their signal patterns, and their encryption is very sophisticated, but it's also designed to handle massive amounts of data across thousands of ships. That makes it predictable. Predictable how? They're using quantum encryption with rotating keys. Very secure, but the key rotation follows a mathematical sequence. If we can figure out the sequence, how long would that take? Jake asked. With our computers? Normally about 6 months. But if we use the ship's navigation computer, the weapons targeting system, and every spare processor we have. Ryan paused, calculating. Maybe 20 minutes. Do it. Maria, once we break their codes, I want you to start feeding false information into their network. Make them think we're in 3 places at once. Aye, sir. The Defiance accelerated toward the smallest Zephyrian command ship, a vessel still 3 times their size, but much more manageable than the massive dreadnoughts in the center of the formation. Kate flew with precision that bordered on art, slipping between weapon emplacements, and using the ship's own superstructure as cover. 50-meter range in 10 seconds, Kate announced, her voice tight with concentration. Ryan, are you getting the scan? Shield frequency locked in, Captain. Transmitting data to Tony now. Kate, get us out of here. The Defiance spun away from the alien command ship just as dozens of weapon ports swiveled to track them. Energy beams filled the space where they had been moments before, but the human ship was already gone, diving toward a cluster of smaller vessels. Tony, can you match that shield frequency? Working on it, sir. This is delicate work. Too much power and we'll just strengthen their shields. Too little and nothing happens. The weapons officer's hands danced over his controls with the skill of a concert pianist. On his targeting display, complex waveforms showed the exact frequency needed to disrupt the alien shields. Got it. Firing now. A single torpedo launched from the Defiance, its warhead modified to emit the precise electromagnetic frequency Ryan had discovered. The weapon struck the alien command ship's shields, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the entire defensive grid collapsed like a soap bubble. Shields down. Amy shouted, "All weapons. Fire at will." The Defiance unleashed everything it had at the defenseless command ship. Torpedo after torpedo slammed into the alien hull. punching through armor plating and exploding inside the vessel's superstructure. Energy beams carved deep gouges in the ship's sides, venting atmosphere and debris into space. Target destroyed, Tony reported with satisfaction. Around them, the alien fleet erupted in confusion. The command ship had been coordinating the movements of nearly 1,000 vessels. With its destruction, those ships suddenly found themselves without orders, trying to figure out what to do next. Maria, how's that code breaking coming along? Almost there, Captain. Dr. Clark was right about the mathematical sequence. Their encryption is actually quite predictable once you understand the pattern. Got it, Ryan announced. Full access to their communication network. Maria, you're clear to start causing trouble. Maria's fingers flew over her console as she began injecting false data into the alien communication system. On the tactical display, Jake watched as entire squadrons of enemy ships began turning away from the Defiance, chasing sensor ghosts and phantom contacts. They think we're attacking their rear guard, Maria reported with glee. Half their fleet is turning around to chase targets that don't exist. Security Chief Dan Parker chose that moment to contact the bridge. Captain, I've been studying the sensor data from that command ship we just destroyed. I think I know how their internal systems work. If we could get a boarding party onto one of those ships, we could take control of it from the inside. Dan, that's still incredibly dangerous. Yes, sir, but I've got an idea. What if we don't try to board a functional ship? What if we target one that's already damaged? Jake thought about it. Several alien vessels had been crippled by asteroid impacts or weapons fire. They were still functional enough to be dangerous, but their crews might be dealing with damage control rather than watching for boarders. Which ship did you have in mind? Grid Reference 47, Captain. Heavy cruiser. Looks like it took a hit to its engine section. It's moving slowly, and its weapons appear to be offline. Jake looked at the tactical display. The damaged ship was drifting at the edge of the main formation, apparently forgotten by the rest of the fleet. Amy, what do you think? It's risky, but it might work. If Dan can disable that ship from inside, it's one less threat we have to worry about. All right, Dan, get your team ready for a boarding action. But I want you to be very careful. We don't know what kind of internal defenses these ships have. Understood, sir. Parker out. As the Defiance continued its deadly dance through the alien fleet, Jake felt something he hadn't expected to feel in this battle. Genuine hope. They were still outnumbered 10,000 to 1, but they were no longer just trying to delay the inevitable. They were actually fighting back and winning. Captain. Lisa called out from engineering. Engine output is starting to fluctuate. We're pushing these systems beyond their absolute limits. How much more time can you give me? 20 minutes, maybe 25. After that, we'll be dead in space. Jake nodded grimly. 20 minutes to defeat an entire alien fleet. It should have been impossible. But then again, everything they had done so far should have been impossible. 20 minutes to save humanity. Commander Jake Morrison stared at the tactical display, showing thousands of alien ships still surrounding his lone vessel. The enemy was angry now, no longer treating this as a simple conquest. They wanted the Defiance destroyed, and they were willing to throw everything they had to make it happen. Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildup across their entire fleet. Amy reported from her tactical station. They're preparing for a coordinated attack. Every ship is charging weapons simultaneously. Jake felt ice in his veins. If 10,000 ships fired at once, there would be nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Even their enhanced speed and agility wouldn't be enough to avoid that much firepower concentrated in one place. Kate, emergency evasive maneuvers. Get us into the deepest part of the asteroid field. Already on it, sir. But, Captain, if they're willing to destroy half the asteroids to get us, then we don't give them the chance. Lisa, I need one more miracle from those engines. Chief Engineer Lisa Brooks looked up from her console, her face pale with exhaustion. Captain, we're already at 400% normal output. If I push any harder, the containment field might collapse entirely. How long would that take to kill us? About 3 seconds, sir. And how long until the aliens finish charging their weapons? Amy, check her sensors. 90 seconds, Captain. Jake made the calculation in his head. It was going to be close. Very close. Lisa, give me everything. Tony, I want you to target their ammunition storage areas. If we're going down, we're taking as many of them with us as possible. But Dr. Ryan Clark suddenly looked up from his science station with wild excitement in his eyes. Captain, wait. I think I have another option. Remember how we overloaded that command ship's shields? What about it? Well, I've been studying the energy patterns of their weapons charging sequence. They're all connected to a central power distribution network. If we could disrupt that network at exactly the right moment, you're talking about creating a feedback loop in their power systems. Jake said, understanding immediately. Exactly. But we need to be at the exact center of their formation when we do it. And we'd have to time it perfectly. 1 second too early or too late, and it won't work. Security Chief Dan Parker's voice crackled over the intercom. Captain, my boarding team is ready. We're locked onto that damaged cruiser. If you can get us close enough, we can transport over in 30 seconds. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They were exhausted, running on adrenaline and determination. But they were still fighting, still believing they could win against impossible odds. All right, people. Here's what we're going to do. Kate, plot a course to the exact center of their formation. Lisa, give me every bit of power those engines can produce. Ryan, start calculating the exact timing for that feedback pulse. Dan, get ready to transport your team the moment we're in range. Sir, Maria interrupted, the aliens are hailing us again. Put it through. Fleet Admiral Zenthara appeared on the main screen. The alien commander looked furious, his large black eyes blazing with rage. Human vessel, you have caused enough destruction. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Counteroffer, Jake replied calmly. You surrender to us, and we'll let half your ships leave the system intact. The alien's mouth opened in what might have been shock. You are offering terms to us? You have one ship against our entire fleet. Admiral, let me explain something about human psychology. The more impossible the odds get, the more dangerous we become. Right now, you're facing the most dangerous human crew in the galaxy. Impossible. No species could survive against such overwhelming force. You know what your problem is? Jake asked, you think in terms of numbers. We think in terms of possibilities. And right now, I see a lot of interesting possibilities. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Kate, execute attack pattern Omega. Take us right down their throats. The Defiant shot forward like a bullet, diving directly toward the center of the alien formation. Enemy ships scrambled to track the fast-moving target, their weapon systems swiveling desperately to follow the human vessel's erratic flight path. Incoming fire from all directions, Amy announced, her voice steady despite the danger. They're not trying to capture us anymore. This is a kill shot. Energy beams and missile trails crisscrossed space around the Defiance as it wove between massive alien ships. Kate flew with impossible precision, threading the needle between weapon emplacements and using the enemy ship's own bulk as cover. Dan, you're in range of the damaged cruiser. Transport when ready. Transporting now, Captain. Wish us luck. On the tactical display, Jake watched as Dan Parker and a security team materialized aboard the alien vessel. Almost immediately, explosions began blooming inside the enemy ship as the boarding party fought their way toward the engine room. Ryan, how's that timing calculation coming? Almost there, Captain. I need 15 more seconds to verify the power distribution patterns. Kate, buy him those 15 seconds. The navigator yanked the controls hard to port, sending the Defiant spinning between two massive dreadnoughts. The alien ships were so close that Jake could see individual weapon ports and armor plates on their hulls. Captain, I'm detecting transporter activity throughout the alien fleet, Maria reported. They're trying to beam security teams onto our ship. Shields up, full power. Don't let anyone through. But even as he gave the order, Jake realized they had a bigger problem. The alien fleet had stopped firing, not because they were giving up, but because they were preparing for something much worse. Amy, what are they doing? All ships are moving into a spherical formation around us. They're going to create an energy containment field and then detonate it, like a giant bomb with us at the center. How long until they're in position? 2 minutes, Captain. Ryan, calculations complete. But, Captain, I have to warn you, if this works, the energy feedback will travel through their entire network. It might destroy their whole fleet. And if it doesn't work, then we'll be vaporized in about 90 seconds. Jake looked around the bridge one more time. His crew was ready, waiting for his orders. Through the view screen, he could see the alien ships moving into their final positions, preparing to end this battle once and for all. Dan, report. Parker's voice came through static and weapon fire. We're in their engine room. Captain, this ship is ours. What are your orders? Stand by for something spectacular. Everyone else, prepare for feedback pulse in 60 seconds. Sir, Kate said quietly, it's been an honor serving with you. Save the goodbye speeches. Jake replied with a grin. We're not dead yet. But as he watched the alien fleet complete their encirclement, Jake had to admit the odds were not looking good. 10,000 ships against one. The largest space battle in human history was about to reach its climax. 30 seconds of pulse, Ryan announced. All stations report ready. Amy called out, Lisa, I need maximum power to all systems. This is it. Aye, sir. Giving you everything we've got. The Defiance hung motionless in the center of the alien sphere, surrounded by enough firepower to crack a moon. In moments, the battle will be decided one way or the other. 10 seconds. Ryan counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire. The electromagnetic pulse that erupted from the Defiance was invisible to human eye, but its effects were immediate and devastating. The carefully calculated frequency wave raced outward at the speed of light, carrying Dr. Ryan Clark's precise mathematical formula into the heart of the Zephyrian power network. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The alien ships continued their slow convergence, their weapons charging for the final devastating attack. Then the first ship exploded. It was a small frigate on the outer edge of the formation, its power core overloaded in a brilliant flash of blue-white energy. Then another ship exploded, and another. The feedback loop Ryan had predicted began cascading through the alien fleet, like a chain reaction of destruction. It's working. Amy shouted from her tactical station. Their power grid is collapsing. Ships are losing main power across the entire formation. Commander Jake Morrison watched in amazement as the massive alien fleet began tearing itself apart. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before were now drifting helplessly in space, their lights going dark one by one. Captain, I'm detecting massive confusion in their communications network, Maria reported. They're trying to figure out what happened, but their command structure is breaking down. But Jake knew the battle wasn't over yet. Even with their power systems failing, thousands of alien ships were still functional. And now they were very, very angry. Sir, we're being hailed by multiple ships, Maria announced. They're demanding to know what we did to them. Put the strongest signal through. Fleet Admiral Zenthra appeared on the main screen again, but this time his appearance shocked the human crew. The alien commander looked haggard and desperate, his usually perfect uniform torn and stained with what might have been blood. What have you done to us? Zenthra demanded, his voice filled with a mixture of rage and something that sounded like fear. We defended ourselves, Jake replied calmly. You came to our space with 10,000 warships. Did you expect us to just surrender? Your species possesses weapons beyond our understanding. This is not possible. Admiral, we didn't use any special weapons. We used physics, mathematics, and good old-fashioned human stubbornness. The same things we've always used when someone tries to conquer us. Dr. Helen Foster's voice came over the intercom from sickbay. Captain, I'm monitoring alien bio readings from the damaged ships. Their life signs show extreme stress patterns. I think they're experiencing something like panic attacks. Jake filed that information away. Fear was a weapon he could use. Navigation. Take us on a patrol through their formation. Nice and slow. I want them to see us. Kate Phillips guided the Defiance through the crippled alien fleet, weaving between drifting ships and debris fields. As they moved, Jake could see alien crew members through transparent sections of hull plating, watching the human ship with what looked like terror. "They're afraid of us," Amy observed with wonder. "Good. Fear makes people make mistakes." Security Chief Dan Parker's voice crackled to the comm system from aboard the captured alien cruiser. "Captain, you need to hear this. I've accessed their ship's database. These aliens have never lost a fleet engagement. Never. In 300 years of expansion, they've conquered every species they've encountered without a single major defeat. Until now," Jake said grimly. "Yes, sir. Until now. And, Captain, there's something else. Their entire military doctrine is based on psychological intimidation. They use overwhelming numbers to break enemy morale before the fighting even starts. They're not prepared to deal with opponents who fight back effectively." That explained a lot. The Zephyrians weren't just losing ships. They were losing their fundamental belief in their own superiority. For a species that had never experienced defeat, this battle was shattering their entire worldview. "Dan, can you access their fleet communications from that ship?" "Already working on it, sir. Give me 2 minutes, and I'll have full access to their command network." While Parker worked, Jake studied the tactical display. Nearly a third of the alien fleet was now disabled or destroyed, but that still left over 6,000 functional ships, more than enough to complete their invasion of Earth. "Maria, are you still monitoring their communications?" "Yes, sir. And Captain, they're really scared now. I'm hearing reports of crews refusing orders, ships trying to retreat, some vessels even fighting each other. Their discipline is completely breaking down." That gave Jake an idea. "Can you broadcast their entire fleet?" "If Dan can give me access to their command network, yes, sir." "Do it. I want to talk to every alien in this system." 2 minutes later, Dan Parker's voice came through the comm. "Network access established, Captain. You're connected to every ship in their fleet." Jake stood up and straightened his uniform. What he was about to do would either end the battle or make the aliens fight even more desperately. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earth Navy, speaking to all Zephyrian vessels. You came to our system with 10,000 ships to conquer our world. You thought we would be easy prey. You were wrong." He paused, letting his words sink in across thousands of alien ships. "Look around you. Look at what one human ship has done to your mighty fleet. We didn't need superior numbers or advanced weapons. We used our minds, our courage, and our refusal to give up when the odds seemed impossible." On the tactical display, Jake could see that the alien ships had stopped moving. They were listening. "You can continue this battle, if you want. But understand what you're really fighting. You're not fighting just one ship or one crew. You're fighting the spirit of an entire species that has never learned how to surrender. Every human you've ever seen in your entertainment broadcasts, every story of courage and sacrifice, every tale of ordinary people doing extraordinary things when their homes are threatened, that's what you're up against." He took a deep breath and delivered the final blow. "And here's the thing you need to understand about humans. We get stronger when we're losing. The worse the odds become, the more dangerous we are. Right now, after what you've seen us do with one ship, ask yourself this question. What do you think we'll do when our entire fleet arrives?" Jake cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Amy, what's their status?" "Multiple ships are powering down weapons, sir. Some are already turning away from our position. I think some of them are trying to retreat." "Sir," Maria added excitedly, "I'm monitoring hundreds of conversations across their fleet. Many ship commanders are questioning their orders. Some are demanding that Admiral Zenthara call for withdrawal." But even as hope began to rise on the bridge of the Defiance, Jake knew the battle wasn't over. Fear could be a powerful weapon, but it could also make desperate enemies even more dangerous. "Captain," Kate called out urgently, "I'm detecting movement in the outer formations. About 2,000 ships are breaking away from the main fleet." "Retreating?" "No, sir. They're forming up for what looks like a suicide attack. If they can't defeat us with tactics, they're going to try to overwhelm us with pure numbers." Jake sighed. He had hoped his psychological warfare would convince the entire fleet to withdraw. Instead, it had split them into two groups, those who wanted to flee, and those who were now determined to destroy the Defiance at any cost. Well, he said to his crew, I guess we're not done dancing yet. 2,000 alien warships advanced toward the Defiance in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the cold light of distant stars. These were not the confused and frightened vessels Jake had been fighting for the past hour. These ships move with deadly purpose, their crews determined to restore their species' honor even if it cost them their lives. They're not trying to capture us anymore, Amy observed, studying her tactical displays. Every weapon system is set to maximum destructive power. This is a kill mission. Commander Jake Morrison watched the approaching wall of death and felt a strange calm settle over him. They had come farther than anyone had a right to expect. One ship against 10,000, and they had actually made the aliens bleed. If this was where it ended, at least Earth would know that humanity had not gone quietly into the night. Lisa, status report on our engines. Chief Engineer Lisa Brooks wiped sweat from her face as she worked frantically at her station. We got maybe 5 minutes of power left at current levels, Captain. After that, we'll be running on emergency systems only. No more fancy maneuvers, no more impossible speeds. Then we make those 5 minutes count. Tony, how much ammunition do we have left? 12 torpedoes and about 30% power reserved for energy weapons. Weapons Officer Tony Rodriguez reported. Not nearly enough to stop 2,000 ships. Dr. Ryan Clark looked up from his science station with desperate intensity. Captain, I've been analyzing the enemy formation. They're using a standard attack pattern, but there's something interesting about their fuel ships. Fuel ships? Yes, sir. Those larger vessels in the center of their formation aren't warships. They're mobile fuel depots, carrying refined antimatter for the entire fleet. If we could somehow trigger an explosion in those ships. Jake's eyes widened as he understood the implications. How big an explosion are we talking about? Well, sir, antimatter is the most destructive substance in the universe. If we could cause a containment failure in just one of those depot ships, the chain reaction would probably destroy everything within a 50-kilometer radius. Including us. Yes, sir, very much including us. Navigator Kate Phillips looked up from her controls. Captain, even if we could reach those depot ships, they're protected by hundreds of escort vessels. We'd never get close enough to attack them. But Security Chief Dan Parker's voice came through the comm system with excitement. Captain, I think I might have a solution. I've been studying the Zephyrian ship I captured, and I figured out how their transporter system works. It's much more powerful than ours, designed to move large amount of cargo across greater distances. What are you suggesting, Dan? What if we don't try to fly to those fuel ships? What if we transport something to them instead? Jake felt a spark of hope. Transport what? Our remaining torpedoes, sir. I can modify them to transport directly into the antimatter storage areas of those depot ships. We wouldn't need to break through their defenses or get past their escorts. We just beam our weapons directly inside their hulls. Can you do that from your current position? Not from here, sir. But if a Defiance could get within transporter range. Amy ran quick calculations on her tactical computer. Captain, transporter range would put us right in the middle of their attack formation. Every gun in their fleet would be targeting us. How long would Dan need to complete the transport? About 90 seconds, Parker replied over the comm. 90 seconds to reprogram the torpedoes and execute the transport sequence. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. 90 seconds under the concentrated fire of 2,000 alien warships. It was impossible. It was suicidal. It was exactly the kind of plan that might actually work. All right, people. Here's what we're going to do. Kate, plot a direct course to the center of their formation. Lisa, give me everything those engines have left. Tony, transfer all our remaining torpedoes to Dan's ship. Amy, I want you to coordinate our defensive systems. Keep us alive for 90 seconds. Sir, Maria interrupted from her communication station. We're receiving a transmission from Admiral Zenthara. He wants to speak with you personally. Put him through. The alien commander appeared on the main screen. This time, Zenthara looked different, calmer, more resigned. There was something in his large black eyes that might have been respect. "Commander Morrison, I wanted to speak with you before this battle ends." "Go ahead, Admiral." "In 3 centuries of military service, I have never encountered a species like yours. You fight with a creativity that defies all logic. My tactical advisors tell me it should be impossible for one ship to survive this long against such overwhelming odds. Admiral, let me tell you something about humans. We specialize in impossible. So I have learned. Commander, I want you to know that your species has earned the respect of the Zephyrian Empire. When we return to our home worlds, we will tell them that humanity is not to be underestimated." "When you return?" Jake asked, "Are you planning to retreat?" "If any of my ships survive this battle, yes. We came here expecting easy conquest. Instead, we have found an enemy that fights like demons. This is not the kind of war my people are prepared for." Jake felt a moment of triumph, but it was quickly overshadowed by the reality of their situation. Even if the surviving aliens retreated, he and his crew would not live to see it. "Admiral, I appreciate your honesty, but you still have 2,000 ships heading straight for us." "Yes, those are the ships whose crews feel that honor demands we destroy you, regardless of the cost. I cannot control them any longer. They will not stop until either you are dead or they are. Then I guess we understand each other." "Indeed, Commander Morrison, it has been educational. Farewell." The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew, who had been listening to the entire conversation. "Well, you heard the man. Kate, execute attack pattern one more time. Take us into the heart of their formation." The Defiance surged forward, its overtaxed engine screaming in protest as they pushed beyond every safety limit. The ship accelerated toward the advancing alien fleet, like a missile launched from the hand of an angry god. "Incoming fire," Amy announced. "All ships are targeting us." The space around the Defiance exploded into chaos as 2,000 alien weapons opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams and missile trails filled the void, creating a deadly web that seemed impossible to navigate. But Kate Phillips was no ordinary pilot. She flew the Defiance through that storm of destruction with skill that bordered on supernatural, twisting and diving between weapon beams, using pieces of debris as cover, somehow finding paths through the wall of fire that no computer could have calculated. 30 seconds to transport range. Dan Parker announced from his captured ship. Hull breach on Deck 7. Came a damage control report. Emergency teams responding. Direct hit to port shields. Amy called out. Shield strength down to 40%. 20 seconds to range. Another impact rocked the ship, sending sparks flying from overloaded systems. In sickbay, Dr. Helen Foster worked frantically to treat the wounded as more casualties arrived every few seconds. 10 seconds. The alien fuel depot ships loomed ahead of them, massive vessels surrounded by a protective screen of escort fighters. Jake could see the antimatter containment units through their transparent hull sections, glowing with barely contained energy. We're in range. Dan announced. Beginning transport sequence now. Amy, all power to forward shields. Kate, hold us steady. Transport in progress. 60 seconds remaining. The Defiance hung in space like a target in a shooting gallery, absorbing punishment from every direction as Dan Parker worked to beam their weapons directly into the heart of the enemy fuel depot. Every second felt like an hour as weapon impacts hammered their shields and hull. 40 seconds. Shield failure on multiple sections, Amy reported. We're taking direct hits to the hull. 20 seconds. Captain, I'm reading massive structural damage throughout the ship, Lisa called out. I don't know how much more we can take. 10 seconds. Jake gripped his command chair as another devastating impact nearly threw him to the deck. Through the smoke and sparks filling the bridge, he could see his crew working with desperate determination. Transport complete. Dan announced triumphantly. Torpedoes are inside their antimatter storage areas. Kate, emergency retreat. Get us away from here. But even as the Defiance tried to escape, Jake knew they were too close to the coming explosion. The antimatter detonation would destroy everything within 50 kilometers, including them. "It's been an honor serving with all of you," he said quietly to his crew. Then the universe turned white. The explosion that consumed the Zephyrian fuel depot ships was visible from 3 star systems away. Antimatter containment fields collapsed in perfect sequence, releasing energy equivalent to the detonation of a small star. The chain reaction ripped through the alien formation like the hand of an angry god, vaporizing everything within 50 kilometers and sending shock waves racing outward at nearly the speed of light. When the blinding light finally faded, Fleet Admiral Zenthara found himself staring at empty space where moments before there had been 2,000 warships. The fuel depots were gone. The escort vessels were gone. Even the space dust that had once been asteroids was gone, swept away by the incredible force of the antimatter explosion. And incredibly, the human ship was still there. The USS Defiance drifted in space like a ghost ship, its hull blackened and scarred. Pieces of armor plating missing, atmosphere venting from dozens of breaches. But it was intact. It was alive. And as Zenthara watched in stunned disbelief, the small vessel's engines flickered back to life. "How?" whispered his communications officer. How did they survive that explosion? Zenthara had no answer. By every law of physics he understood, the human ship should have been vaporized along with everything else in that radius. Yet there was, battered but unbroken, still to find impossible. On the bridge of the Defiance, Commander Jake Morrison pulled himself up from the deck where the explosion had thrown him. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows, and the smell of burned circuits filled the air. But they were alive. "Damage report," he croaked, his voice rough from smoke inhalation. Chief Engineer Lisa Brooks struggled to her feet at her station, blood running from a cut on her forehead. "Captain, I have no idea how we're still in one piece. The explosion should have killed us 10 times over. But somehow, our shields held just long enough to deflect the worst of it." Dr. Helen Foster's voice came over the intercom from sickbay. "Casualties throughout the ship, Captain, but everyone's alive. Somehow, miraculously, everyone's alive." Navigator Kate Phillips managed a weak smile as she worked at her damaged console. "Sir, I think I know how we survived. Just before the explosion, we were hit by so many enemy weapons that our shields were fluctuating wildly. When the antimatter detonated, the shield frequency happened to be perfectly tuned to deflect the blast wave." "You're saying we survived because their weapons hit us at exactly the right moment?" "Yes, sir. Pure luck. Or maybe—" She looked around the bridge, at her crewmates. "Maybe something more than luck." Weapons Officer Tony Rodriguez looked up from his station with wonder in his eyes. "Captain, you need to see this tactical display. The alien fleet, it's gone. Not just the 2,000 ships that attacked us. I mean the whole fleet. There are maybe a dozen ships left in the entire system." Jake stared at the display, hardly believing what he was seeing. Where 10,000 alien warships had once filled space, only a handful of damaged vessels remained, drifting helplessly among the debris of their destroyed comrades. How is that possible? The explosion was big, but not that big. Science Officer Dr. Ryan Clark, nursing a broken arm but still working at the station, provided the answer. "Captain, when the fuel depot ships exploded, it created a subspace shock wave that traveled through their entire fleet network. Every ship that was connected to their central power grid was affected. Most of them lost main power completely. Some just came apart." Communications Officer Maria Santos looked up from her console in amazement. "Sir, I'm monitoring the few remaining alien ships. They're requesting permission to surrender." Jake felt the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. One ship, 200 crew members, against 10,000 alien vessels. And somehow, impossibly, they had won. "Put me through to Admiral Zenthara." The alien commander appeared on the main screen, but he looked like a completely different being than the proud warrior who had first demanded their surrender. Zenthara's uniform was torn, his face streaked with what looked like tears, and his large black eyes held an expression Jake had never expected to see. Complete and total defeat. "Commander Morrison," Zenthara said quietly. "Aye, we? How did you—" For the first time since the battle began, the alien admiral seemed unable to find words. "Admiral," Jake said gently, "do you wish to surrender?" Zenthra stared at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "Yes. On behalf of the few ships that remain, I formally surrender to United Earth Navy. We yield." "Terms are simple," Jake replied. "You will withdraw from this system immediately. You will report to your government that Earth is under protection of humanity, and any future attacks will be met with the same resistance you encountered today. And you will spread the word throughout the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated." "It will be done," Zenthra said. He paused, struggling with something. "Commander, before we depart, I must ask, how many ships do you have? How many crews like yours?" Jake smiled grimly. "Admiral, you just fought the entire Earth Defense Fleet." The alien's eyes widened in shock. "One ship? Your entire defense consists of one ship." "That's right. Just us. 200 humans who refuse to let you pass." For a long moment, Admiral Zenthra said nothing. He simply stared at Jake with an expression of absolute disbelief. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. 200 against 10,000, and you won. We defended our home, Admiral. That's what humans do when someone threatens the people we love." Zenthra slowly shook his head, as if trying to process something beyond his understanding. "I have served in the Zephyrian military for 3 centuries. I have conquered 17 species across 42 worlds. I have commanded fleets that could destroy planets. And I have been defeated by 200 humans in a single ship." He paused, looking directly into Jake's eyes. "When I return to the Empire, they will ask me how this happened. They will demand to know how the mighty Zephyrian fleet was destroyed by such a small force. What am I to tell them?" Jake considered the question carefully. "Tell them that humans fight like the universe owes us a personal debt. Tell them that we don't know how to surrender when our families are at stake. Tell them that there are forces in this galaxy more powerful than numbers or technology. And what forces are those? Love, Admiral. Courage. The refusal to give up even when defeat seems certain. The willingness to sacrifice everything for the people who matter to us. Tell them that's what you encountered here today." Admiral Zenthra nodded slowly. "I will tell them, and I will recommend that the Zephyrian Empire never again attempt to conquer human space. That would be wise." The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew, who were staring at him with expressions ranging from exhaustion to amazement to quiet pride. "Well," he said finally, "I guess we should call home and let them know the system is secure." Maria opened a channel to Earth Command. Admiral Peterson's face appeared on screen, his eyes wide with disbelief as he took in the battle damage visible on the Defiance's bridge. "Jake? Jake, are you there? We lost contact hours ago. What's your status?" "Mission accomplished, Admiral. The alien fleet has been neutralized. Earth is safe." Peterson stared at him in stunned silence. "Jake, our long-range sensors showed 10,000 enemy ships entering the system. What happened to them?" Jake looked around at his crew one more time, these extraordinary, ordinary people who had just achieved the impossible. "We convinced them that attacking humanity was a bad idea, sir." In the depths of space, as the few surviving Zephyrian ships limped away from the battlefield, Admiral Zenthra composed his final report to the Empire. He stared at the transmission for a long time before finally sending it. "High Command," his report began, "the invasion of the human system has failed. Total fleet loss, 9,987 vessels. Human casualties, unknown but believed to be minimal. Recommendation: classify the human species as a maximum level threat. Under no circumstances should the Empire attempt further contact with the species. They fight like nothing we have ever encountered." He paused, then added one final line. "The humans, they fight like the universe owes them a personal debt." And across the galaxy, word began to spread that humanity was not a species to be conquered, but one to be feared and respected. The Battle of Earth's outer system became legend. The story of how 200 humans in a single ship face impossible odds and emerge victorious. But for Jake Morrison and the crew of the USS Defiance, It was just another day defending home.